Hello, welcome back my dear friends. This video is to make you aware of how to analyze an editorial. We have come across many queries that, sir, you say that you have to read editorial every single day. It will not only help you with your GK, but it will also help you with your PI and WAT. And of course, you do not want to be somebody who gets a 99 percentile and then be rejected by an institute. But what exactly is to be read in an editorial? I really do not know. So this video specifically caters to how to analyze an editorial. I would rather like you to read this line as how to read an editorial. And this is where we begin. So far, when we read an editorial, we just realize that these are the things that we have to do. Maybe if we are preparing for various competitive examinations, including UPSC, SSC, maybe ZAT, the IIMs, not talking about CAT, but when I talk about WAT and PIs, and various other examinations in which GK questions are asked. Or if we want to go for data-backed opinion making, that okay, if I'm saying that this is something that should not be done or this is something that should be done, I should be having relevant data with me. Of course, I do want to read editorial because I want to enhance my general knowledge. It is important for me to talk sense among my peers. And of course, one of the very important reasons why people read editorials is that they want to enhance their command over English vocabulary and sentence structure. So when we talk about this thing, uh, doing an editorial also means preparing for education abroad examinations also, including GMAT, GRE, etc., TOEFL. Now, what our present approach is with respect to editorial. Before I begin here, let me caution you, this is something which is very general in nature. It might not be applicable to you as is, but if you do find some or the entire set of similarities, feel very good about it. How do we generally read an editorial? We quickly read. We just want to read it so that there is a mental satisfaction that I have read an editorial. Then of course we want to highlight important words. If we are having a paper in our hands, then we want to underline it, or we may use a highlighter, or sometimes we do not do that as well. Or if we are doing it as an e-paper, then again I do want to highlight something important by means of various tools. The next thing that we generally do is that whatever the author has said, we accept the author's viewpoint, right? Now, when I accept author's viewpoint, uh, it is okay, one thing, but then there is something else which is known as explaining the same viewpoint to others. So, for example, if the author of the editorial or a column, I should say, is very critical of the present government, for example, then you also become critical of the present government. Now, this is not what the intention of an editorial is. The intention of an editorial is for you to respect what the other person is saying, but then you should be sane enough to make your own conclusions given the data. Now, the data could be there in the editorial, or you have to maybe find it somewhere else. Unless you can create your own opinion, you will not be able to present a very holistic view of your editorial. And the last thing that we do is that we call it done. Now, these are the things that we should definitely not do. And these are the things we definitely should do. Now, it is important for us to quickly read things because we do not have time. But it is even more important for us to, not do this thing like explaining the same viewpoint to others and accepting author's viewpoint, because it simply tells us that we are no more than a passive receiver of information. Now, in this case, what is it that you have to do? Now, this is something which is highly jargonized, which I'm using right now, but later I'll also be giving you an example as to how you should read, analyze, and get done with a particular editorial column. There are four things that I generally define. These four things are, read. Reading is very important. Unless you read, how you will analyze it? Highlight. What are the main points? You have to highlight the main points. Maybe, there is an acronym there is an abbreviation there is some data point over there. It could be somebody's opinion. How does it matter? So there are many things that you may highlight, and also you need to highlight a lot of things because the editorial that you are reading might be coming from a historical background. And unless you know about that, how will you be able to make an opinion on it? And this is where this dig comes into picture. Now, when I say dig simply means, whatever is just mentioned or not given properly, you just have to go and check it on the internet. And as I say dig, I have no shame in telling you that I am talking about Googling it. And finally, opine. Make your opinion, of course, substantiated by data. So let's see how this is done. This is one um, column that we have taken from the Hindu. Source, oh, just a sec. Source I have highlighted already. This is one column that we have taken from the Hindu, and we will try to analyze this one. Delhi's air quality slips to very poor category. Now, why we have taken this one, there is a very deliberate reason behind it. Uh, One thing is that this is something that always comes in the news every year. And now that we are slipping into that mode and that mode will remain constant for around 2 or 3 months, this is definitely going to be one of the burning topics for many weeks to come. So giving you this thing as a starting point will actually make sense because you will then be able to understand how you want to go ahead with other editorials. Now, let us quickly do one thing. I would request you to pause this video and read this. It will not take you more than 2.5 or 3 minutes at max, right? And you may also skip the video for a minute or minute and a half till the time I read it for you because I want to make you understand how reading is done. So let us quickly see that. There are so many things that you need to avoid also. So what I'm going to write ahead of the graded response action plan. Oh, GRAP. What is this? I have to check it. That is scheduled to kick in on October 15 to check rising air pollution in the capital. Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. Now, this is also important, but I think everybody knows who Arvind Kejriwal is, so maybe this is not going to be a question that will come in the exam. So, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal said all the gains achieved so far to combat pollution will be nullified if neighboring states do not stop crop burning. Now, he says that all the gains that have been achieved so far to combat air pollution. So, your question should be what are the gains? Maybe there were some measures that were employed by the government of Delhi, and government of Delhi was subsequently uh, successful in bringing the pollution down. But he says that if the neighboring states do not stop crop burning, all these things will be nullified. Your next question should be what are these neighboring states? And this is my reason that crop burning is one of the major reasons of poor air quality of Delhi. Let's move ahead. On a day when several monitoring stations across the city showed the air quality index AQI, maybe we should read something about air quality index as well, as very poor. Now, why this thing is in quotes? This thing is in quotes because air quality index has certain definitions of what is very poor, what is severe, what is poor, what is acceptable, etc. Now, when you will read air quality index, of course, you will get to know that. And that is why, guys, whatever is given in the quotes is something which is very important for you. All the gains achieved so far on pollution front will be nullified, whereas we need to do a lot in Delhi and we are trying, however, the government and all agencies need to blah blah blah. It's not needed. Blame game. Now, here you're talking about a political blame game has been going on. Now, all these things you can eliminate because it has no particular significance in it. Tell the center to stop crop burning in Haryana. Now, I have already read this, so I know that this is something that must be eliminated. But the moment you start reading it, that a political blame game also played out in city as AAP MP Rajya Sabha MP Sanjay Singh hit out at the center, etc., etc. You know that maybe I'll quickly go through it maybe in 10 seconds or so, and then come to the more important things because there are no facts here. All of it is opinion. Smoke reaching city. Sources in the meteorological department. Meteorological department. Maybe let me read something about this institution as well said smoke from crop residue burning in neighboring states had started reaching Delhi and was not getting dispersed due to calm winds creating a haze over Delhi. Now, see how amazing this thing is. He says that the neighboring states, what are the neighboring states that are given? And this was the question we initially pondered upon here, right? The neighboring states are, I think, somewhere I talked about Haryana, Oh, here Haryana, it is talked about. Here also it is being talked about Punjab. So here also it is being talked about Haryana and Punjab. So what we are saying here is that there are some neighboring states, say Haryana and Punjab. What happens here? Crop residue burning, and because of winds it reaches Delhi, right? And because in Delhi there are calm winds, because of calm winds it doesn't get dispersed, so it stays in Delhi, and that becomes a problem. That becomes the pollutant. So the air that is flowing there in the neighboring states is bringing the pollution here in Delhi, but there is not very strong air current here. The winds are calm, so it is not getting away from Delhi. It is not getting dispersed, so it stays there. On Sunday evening, Delhi's average AQI based on 36 monitoring stations was measured at 270, and this was in poor category. Now we are again confirming that okay, whatever was given in the courts as very poor and poor are nothing but the scales or the legends. And then an AQI between 0 to 50 is considered good. See, here is your information. AQI 51 to 100 is satisfactory, and so on. Now your question should be, what exactly is AQI and what are these levels? What do we mean by 0 to 50? What do we mean by 101 to 200? What is this number? So this number is what we have to understand. The center runs System of Air Quality and Weather Forecasting and Research. Now this is a big name. Center run. That means it's an initiative of Government of India, and its name is System of Air Quality and Weather Forecasting and Research, right? So we'll talk about that as well. So this is something I also need to understand. And then it says that will make up 6% of Delhi's pollution. What will make 6% of Delhi's pollution? Stubble burning. And when the GRAP comes into force in Delhi NCR. Despite a ban on stubble burning in Punjab and Haryana, farmers continue to defy it, and pollution monitoring bodies have shown that Punjab has reported a 45% increase in such cases. Now, you see, there is a ban. There is a ban already in place, but the ban is not being honored by farmers. Now, there could be reasons why farmers are not honoring the ban, right? Now, the reason when we ponder is that it becomes very uh, cost efficient for farmers to burn the stubble instead of removing it, because it takes a lot of money, and because the government subsidies that are being provided are not enough, so they resort to not using their own money for the same thing. So it is one of the quickest and easiest ways of preparing your land for the next crop season, right? So stubble burning becomes economical for them and fast. All right. Now, this is something that we need to understand. So when we talk about all these things, what we realized is something that we need to make a chart on. Now, Delhi's air quality is what we are talking about. Very poor. So now we need to make a chart on this. We are understanding that there is a discussion on Delhi's poor air quality. Now we need to make a chart on this, what we have understood of this column. So let us see what we have understood of this column. Very poor. Very poor air quality index. We need to understand about air quality index. Now we know that Punjab and Haryana are the two important neighboring states that are burning crop residue by government is not enough. So there are many ways, there are many reasons why Delhi's air pollution, uh, why Delhi's air becomes polluted, trees, etc. So let us see what we have so far understood. These are our keywords. What did we do? We read, we highlighted, we dug, and we will eventually opine. Okay. Now, when I say that these are my keywords, I need to understand what these keywords are, and I'm done with it. So what we have done so far, GARP is something that we need to understand. Neighboring states is done. This is something we need to understand. Reason of pollution, we understood. System of air quality, we need to understand. Impact of pollution and mitigation measures is we need to understand. So this is how I am going to read it. Now let us see. So the source of this is the government site CPC. You can read it. This is what is air quality index. Now, air quality index is nothing but a unique methodology, a very general system for public to understand. Now, if it is general and it is for public to understand, then what is very special about it? So there is a unique color code. So when you say that this is green color code, dark green means good. The possible health impact means there is a minimal impact. That means if my pollutant level, air quality index pollutant level is between 0 and 50, then I would say that my air is good. Now, what are these pollutants? These pollutants are PM 2.5, PM 10, some oxides of nitrogen, some oxides of sulfur, etc. etc. Of which the most important ones are PM 10 and PM 2.5. When we talk about air quality index, this is about PM 2.5. So let us see what we are talking about here. So if I talk about it being satisfactory, there is minor breathing discomfort. If it is between 101 and 200, it is moderate. If it is between 401 and 500, it is termed as severe. And it affects healthy people and seriously impacts those with existing diseases. Now, whenever it goes beyond 500, more than 500, it is termed as an extreme condition that calls for emergency. Now, if it calls for emergency, only when emergency is felt, when emergency is felt. Now, it not necessarily mean that somebody has to wait till the AQI crosses 500, but when emergency is felt, then GARP is applied. Now, what that is, we'll talk about it. So, this is the second thing that we were discussing, suffer. Now, there was no suffer that was mentioned in the article, but when you search something like this, you get to know it. So, this is something that may be asked, what do you mean by suffer, or what is the full form of suffer, or what does it do? It is something that falls under Ministry of Earth Sciences, and so this is a module that is created by Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. Then it was approved and was used by Indian Meteorological Organization or Association. Now, this is a source that you can use to refer it for later. Now, what is this? That it is talking about air quality index being a tool for effective communication of air quality status to people in terms which are easy to understand, and that's why color coding. Then there are 6 AQI categories, namely good plus satisfactory, moderately polluted, and so on. Then AQ subindex and health breakpoints are evolved for 8 pollutants. How many pollutants are there that for which AQI is decided? 8. So this is a number that you need to remember. So these are your 8 pollutants, PM10, PM2.5. Now what is 10? 10 means when the suspended particulate matter in the air is more than 10 micrometer in size. This is PM10. Then PM2.5 is for the suspended particulate matter of the size of 2.5 micrometer. Then it is the oxide of nitrogen, the oxide of sulfur, carbon monoxide, O3, NH3, and lead. What did we study so far? We understood neighboring states, we understood air quality index or NAQI, which is nothing but National Air Quality Index, reason of pollution, suffer, impact of pollution and mitigation measures, and GARP. So impact of pollution we studied, mitigation measures we will be dealing with GARP only. So let us see that. Now this is a photograph that we have taken from this source, currentaffairs.gktoday.in, and we thank them. Now, what is this? GARP is something that is notified by Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, MOEFCC. This is something that you can remember. It is approved by Supreme Court. Now, what are these grades? First of all, it is only implemented in emergency situations. So whenever the government feels that an emergency situation is upon us or is impending, then government can employ this. So if you say that currently we are falling in the category of emergency. Now what this emergency category is, if PM 2.5 is over 300 or PM 10 is over 500 for 48 hours, then these are some measures that we employ. So you stop entry of trucks, you stop construction activities, you introduce odd even. You also set up a task force to look for into shutting off schools, etc., etc., etc. Now when I say introduce odd even, etc., these are specifically for Delhi. If this is falling into severe category and the category is listed here that PM 2.5 is between 121 and 250 and PM 10 is between 351 and 430, then you close all the brick kilns, stone crushers, and you shut down power plant, especially this Badarpur power plant. The intensity of public transport is also something that you need to increase that so that people can use it. Now how do you increase it? So they talk about that if it is very poor, then you stop use of diesel generators, you increase parking fee by 3 or 4 times. It is nothing but the measure to restrict people or anybody from polluting the environment all the more. Now, GARP is something which is very important. Now, currently, if GARP is being implemented from 15th of October, which means the government is currently feeling the need to implement it so that the situation doesn't exacerbate. Currently, Delhi's air quality is very poor, so all these things that are given here will be implemented. Along with that, we also hear that later Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has also planned to go for odd even rule for a week or maybe a fortnight later in November. This is something yet to be seen. Whenever, as and when it will be announced and applied, we will come back with that. All these measures will be taken so that this very poor quality doesn't go to severe and then later it doesn't go to emergency. Now, this is how you complete an editorial. So when initially we used to do editorial, we would simply read it and we would not even be able to go for a proper opinion. But now that we have significant data points with respect to what is GARP, with respect to what is air quality index, what is national air quality index, what do we mean by PM 2.5, what do we mean by PM 10, what exactly is the situation in your city, something that you can actually check on Suffer. So all these things will help you make your opinion strong. You will also be able to understand how things around you are going along. And this is where you are able to give your proper strong opinion backed by data. Seems too much time consuming? Absolutely not. It is just the time that I am spending to make you understand. It actually took me 20 minutes. Even if there is a bigger one, a bigger column or a complex column, and if it is taking 40 minutes also, that's also worth it. Eventually, you would not want to be somebody who is getting 99 percentile and then be rejected by institutes, something that I just said in the beginning of this session. I hope you liked it. I hope it was useful. Please provide your comments in the comment section so that we can improve upon the quality and everything else as well. And all the very best. We know that you are preparing. We are there with you. Thank you. Bye bye.